So it's been a while since you last did Crusader Kings 2004. What made you decide to go back and do a sequel?
Crusader Kings was a very fun game. It was very open. There was a lot you could do, and it's one of these kind of periods of history where, it's in flux. Europe could have gone in all sorts of directions, which means it's a very good environment for a strategy game because history is very easy to shape in a plausible manner. So from that perspective, Crusader Kings has huge amounts of potential as a game concept. So when we're given the chance to do a sequel, we jumped at it, going, great, let's see what we can do this time.
So if you compare this game to other grand strategy titles from Paradox, what makes it unique? What makes it special and different?
Well, the biggest difference is in all the other Paradox games, you're playing a country. You have your Germany, your Prussia, your Bavaria, wherever. And here you're playing a dynasty. You're actually a character. It's far more of an RPG orientated game than, say, Hearts of Iron, for example. So from that point of view, you're marrying, you've got children, you're going to try and do what's best for your family and grow them, as opposed to playing a country. And you've also got this kind of random fate kind of element where, your son could turn out to be a total idiot, and your entire game now rides on how well can you get round the fact that you have an idiot as a son.
Maybe kill him.
Yeah, well, that's obviously plan B, but if you don't have any other sons, it's game over.
So it's all about keeping the bloodline alive then. How would you say that? I understand you've introduced something new called baronies in the game, and can you explain a little bit how that changes the gameplay and the experience for the player?
Yeah, well, the game was all about feudal relationships. So in the game, in Crusader Kings 1, you had kings, dukes, and counts. And if you were a count right at the bottom of the ladder, there wasn't an awful lot for you to do apart from try and become a duke by marriage or conquest or whatever. With baronies, we've added in this tier below a count. They're not playable, but there are things for the player as a count to interact with and, add more to his game experience, because being a count back then wasn't sitting around waiting for an opportunity to become a duke. You had your county to manage and run. So we've added in characters who hold titles inside your county which you might not get along with, maybe you do. It's something you can give your son, to make sure he's gainfully employed until it's time to take over the family business, and things like that. So it's to add more fun for people who want to play these lowest tier titles in the game.
So, what role does characters play in the game?
They are the game. The whole point is, you have these characters who you interact with. They'll plot together, they'll scheme together, they'll be friends, they'll be enemies, they'll fight. It's all about characters. Like the 100 Years' War in Crusader Kings is not England versus France. It's the King of England fighting the King of France for control of that title, the king, to become King of France. So characters are everything in this game.
How does that change things when it comes to AI, for instance, when a character may have his own personal motives and ambitions, rather than, say, a country is just out there to grow, or to grow their economy or grow their borders?
Yeah, well, what we've added in, we've lifted from Rome Via Victis this idea of ambitions, where characters will dream of wanting things, and they'll let you know, by the way, I would really like, this title or this job. And so it gives you a way of interacting with the characters to see, how you can keep them on side and off side. But you also have we also added something major called plots, where characters will not just hang around and wait for, say, they want a duchy. What they'll do is they'll start grabbing like-minded friends along to try and force you into doing this, even, rising up in revolt and trying to win it by force of arms, because the characters need to come alive and need to have, if not necessarily logical reasons for why they do what they do, because people aren't always logical, they should at least have, practical in-game means of being different based on who they are. We have traits on the characters which will influence their behaviour, so ambitious characters are more likely to try and demand jobs and willing to rebel to get them, whereas more passive characters, they'll just be quite content, not want to rock the boat.
So you're quite early on in development. Could you tell us a little bit where you're at and when you're hopefully going to have it ready?
Well, it's scheduled for Q1 2012, so that's our release date. At the moment, we're working hard on getting the basic game in. What we're looking for is to get a basic workable game by the beginning of next year. So then we can start testing and iterating, especially, you know, working on things, especially the interfaces. You know, it's far easier to sit there and go, okay, this interface needs a bit of work once you've actually played the game a bit. So, I mean, that's our focus, is we're looking for maybe even a year of incremental improvements and testing to see if we can get this as our most polished release yet.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, hopefully I'm not making myself a hostage to fortune here.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem at all.